everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Michael O'Reilly here, aka the Funky Celtic. Today I'd like to talk about once again the Steely Dan track Kid Charlemagne. I've done two videos here in YouTube. I'm going to put the links in this video on the epic solo that Larry Carlton took in this song. If you're a guitar player, chances are you know the solo I'm talking about. And as I said, I've done two videos and I've gone through and analyzed it and whatnot. And one of the viewers on that video expressed some frustration regarding not the solo itself, but the chords being played behind the solo. And I thought that'd be an interesting topic for a video. So that's what I'd like to talk about today. Alright, so the first thing I did actually was I transcribed the part that I'm discussing here, and here it is actually. This is what I did. I worked this out, wrote it down, and committed it to memory. If you'd like to get a copy of this, actually, you can just hit me up at my website. It's www.funkyceltic.com, and I'll send you off a copy of this, just for educational purposes only, of course. Few things it's interesting about this solo. It's 22 bars long. If you're a beginner in music, there's a bar of 2/4 in here, so that may throw you off, but that's pretty easy. It's in 4/4, but there is one measure in here that's only 2 beats. That's the bar of 2/4. It's discussed in the video where I've analyzed the solo. Another point of interest here is these chords only occur in the guitar solo. It's very interesting. Typically a lot of rock songs, pop songs, you'll solo over a verse section, over a chorus changes, whatever. These chords only happen in the solo, so they were specifically written for the guitar solo in mind, which is really, really cool. And we'll talk about the actual changes in a minute. Another thing is, of course, the person playing this. Everyone that refers to Kid Charlemagne talks, of course, about Carlton. And then after that, they'll talk about Chuck Rainey, the bass player on here, created this fabulous bass line, this great groove. And then Bernard Purdie, of course, the renowned drummer Bernard Purdie, played on a lot of Steely Dan stuff. And he's playing on this track as well. And if you go into YouTube, you'll see drummers, doing versions of it and explaining it. I don't think anyone's ever discussed the rhythm guitar part. And it's a really interesting part, and best of my knowledge is played by Walter Becker as the other half of Steely Dan. I'm sure you Steely Dan fans know that. And it just never occurred to me to really kind of dig into this rhythm part. It's really funky, and I decided rather than just show you, I would make a lesson, little tutorial out of this for you guys. Alright, so I brought the camera down a little closer to the fretboard here to talk about the chord changes. The first bar of the solo, actually the guitar solo doesn't really start in the first bar. It's kind of a setup. It's an E minor 7 flat 5 to an A7. Now, you can play that chord like that. You can play the changes like that. I'm playing across all 6 strings. Now, that's a lot of information. There's a few things to consider as a rhythm guitar player if you were working on a session like this, or working in a situation where you're outlining the harmony, but there's also two other instruments. There's two keyboards on this track as well. I think there's a clav and electric piano. I think what he's doing here is simply playing on the three strings, the fourth, third, and second string. And instead of playing that full chord, he's playing an inversion of it. He's playing a B flat, a D, and a G. And then for the A7, he simply slides these two fingers down to get the A7 sound. You get an A, a C sharp, and a G. So that G's, it's a common tone. It's in both chords. You got that little line there. That brings us to a D minor. He's playing on the top three strings now. D minor 7. You just drop that D to the C. Now here's another 2-5. You've got a B minor 7 flat 5 to an E7 to get the A minor. Again, instead of playing that much, I think what he's doing is doing another kind of inversion on three strings. You get a really smooth sound. You've only got to move these two fingers. Again, the A moves down to a G sharp, the F moves down to an E, and this D is a common tone, right? Brings us to A minor. So by using these kind of voicings, you get a really fluid sound because you're playing on groups of strings like that. That brings us to the A minor again, top three strings. G6, right? You don't hear the bass note, but you've got a B and an E and a G in that section. Okay, and the next part from the G6, we're going to have an F, take an F major 7 to an E7. Okay, and then the bar of 2-4. D minor 7 for a beat, B7 for a beat. Brings us to the E minor sound, okay? So this section, you've got, I'll do it a little slower. Okay, so what's happening here? He's implying the chords using dyads. That's what I think is happening here. And dyads are just a fancy name for chords that are made up of two notes. Okay, so an F major 7, I can play just right from that F major 7. Okay, there it is. There's an E and an A. The E. There's a D and a G. The D minor. The B7. Okay, C and F give you D minor. B and D sharp give you a B7. The B sound, the root and the major third. Right? This brings you to the next section. Pretty straight ahead. You can play the top three strings. E minor 7, D6, C major 7. There's an E minor to a D over E. But right there, I'm kind of playing a little bit more here. You can play right across the inside strings, the fifth, fourth, third, and second strings. Brings us to the next section. You're back to A minor. This is really funky. To the next section, the A minor is just, again, top three strings, G6, three strings. This is really nice. This F chord is an F6-9, I think is what it's called. But he's playing on the top three strings. He's playing a D, and then he's playing a G and a C. That leads us to the B flat dominant sound. And there's some common tones in there, right? Just adding that A flat on the fourth string. This brings us down to the Da 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 da. Right? This section is interesting as well because he's kind of really mimicking the melody there. And I think from what I'm hearing is, again, there's dyads. He's implying some harmony here. A B and a D up to a C and an E. That G6, da, 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 da. F, G6 down to F6. Again, you're on the three strings here. There's that fluid, and then to finish off, this E minor 7, C, there's the same move again, C to E, G to B. Brings you to the last 4 measures where I think the guitar actually drops out there, the rhythm guitar drops out, and you just have the keyboards comping as Carlton finishes off the solo. All right, there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions on it, please feel free, hit me up again on my website. If you're not familiar with this music, you're just checking out this video for the first time, check out Steely Dan, a wonderful band. I've been a huge fan since I was a kid, and these were called vinyl records, so we used to listen to our music on. They were a lot of fun. This is actually, I bought this secondhand here in Singapore. I'm such an ardent fan of the band and of course of Larry Carlton, and he's featured quite a bit on this record. So again, thanks for tuning in today. You can subscribe to my YouTube station, that's cool. And keep in touch. I hope to see you again soon, guys. Take care.